George, why don't we begin by asking why you're here in Davos? You come here every year, but typically you have a mission, as it were, every time. What's the story this year?
This year is the Institute for New Economic Thinking, which was started less than a year ago and is making considerable progress. A lot of interest among economists, and I came here to get a broader base of support for this organization. I made 3 announcements. One was a new institute at the London School of Economics and the Central European University, where I will actually be an active participant, a fellow, developing my theory of reflexivity that you referred to. And then that Paul Volcker is the chairman of the fundraising campaign and is putting in $1 million of his own money, which is, I think, a pretty good testimony of his belief in this organization. And thirdly, that I have a partner in Jim Basili of Research in Motion, who is for the next 5 years equaling my contribution. So those were the highlights.
Well, over the course of that conversation around INET yesterday, you had a warning for the United Kingdom. You said that the UK, if it continues along its current path, is headed for recession. My question to you is, what about the rest of Europe?
Well, I think Britain is in a more dire situation. The rest of Europe now have a 2-speed Europe. And on balance, Europe is moving actually currently forward because the fast-moving Europe, led by Germany, has more weight than the sinking Europe. So on balance, Europe is doing not too great, but okay. But this divergence, which actually was caused by the euro, is, as you said, a political threat for the cohesion of Europe.
So unresolved, what does that mean for the euro?
Well, I think the euro is here to stay. There's a commitment for it to be here. But there is this unresolved problem. I think, actually, one of the things that ought to be done is that you can't wait till 2013 to start restructuring the debt. I think Ireland is putting Europe on notice that they will want to renegotiate the settlement that the previous current government did.
So if we can't wait till 2013, what needs to be done? How severely do these debts, these sovereign debts, need to be restructured? Are you talking about a small haircut, or are you talking about a total renegotiation of the obligation?
In the case of Ireland, it's patently unjust that the Irish people should absorb all the losses made by the banks, and the bondholders should be totally free. And that, I think, will have to be modified. I think that Greece, in due course, and maybe better sooner than later, should be restructured. Portugal probably also needs it, and that's about it.
No Spain.
And that can be absorbed. It will cause losses. And if there are any losses, then this emergency fund should be able to provide equity to replace the missing equity in the banks. Those are the 2 steps, I think, that would make this more palatable and more lasting.
Appropriate that the sirens should go off, just as you mentioned. Emergency funds.
Yeah.
What does all that mean, though, in the context of investment? Do you have confidence in the euro as an investment? Do you have confidence in the pound as an investment right now?
Well, I think that, as I said, the euro is here to stay.
But at what level is the question?
Well, look, I'm not in the business of predicting currencies, you know.
Really?
Well, put it this way: I have now retired as an investor, so I'm talking theory and not making forecasts.
How much do you worry about inflation? Inflation, particularly in the emerging markets right now, with food prices spiraling, riots taking place in North Africa, the possibility for social unrest and possibly political upheaval.
Yeah, no, that is a serious issue, because a year ago, you had the prospect of inflation, but the reality actually in the developed world of deflationary pressures. Well, because of the commodity boom, which was basically a lack of confidence in all currencies, not just the dollar, but that there's no alternative to the dollar, better to own commodities. So you had a big boom in commodities, and that is creating serious inflationary pressure in the
But do you believe that that is still the best investment strategy, to own commodities, given the scenario you just described?
Well, again, I'm not in the business of forecasting.
But I understand.
Yeah,
but as a matter of principle.
Yeah. Look, I think the developing world is developing fast. There's a great appetite for those commodities. The supply is not catching up yet, but eventually it will. That is, commodities are traditionally very, very cyclical. So it's a matter of where are you in the cycle. I think you are pretty advanced, but
really?
you're not yet.
Well, in percentage terms, how far are we from the end?
Well,
I mean, when you say pretty advanced, just to try to put it into terms that people understand.
Well, I mean, you've had now a decade of commodity boom, and a number of new investments are maturing, but not yet at the production stage. So I would say a couple of years.
A couple more years. Now, what are the consequences of the end of that commodity boom? What happens to the world?
Well, that will be a new situation, and it will altogether. Right now, you are at the sweet spot, because you now have imported inflation in the developed world, particularly the United States actually needs, let's say, 2% inflation, because it also helps to work off the debt. And since you at the same time have quantitative easing, you effectively have negative real interest rates, which is very stimulative to the markets. And that is what has driven the market.
So that's why you're in a sweet spot.
That's right.
Now, do you have confidence in the U.S. economic recovery, the little bits, the flickers of life that we've seen?
Yeah. Again, I think it is temporary.
Temporary?
Yes, because once the economy picks up a little momentum, if it picks up a little momentum, then interest rates are going to go up and choke off the recovery. So we are destined for stop-go, which is better than no-go at all.
No, certainly better than no-go at all. But where are we going? Is that going to be a year from now? 2012 is going to be the story of a slowing U.S. economy once again?
I think that's a reasonable time horizon.
Do you have confidence in the ability of the United States to tackle its debt and deficit problems?
I think it's going to be pretty serious, and I think you will have in the next year or so, within the next year, a real drama with the budgets of the states and local governments. That's going to be the big issue developing. It's brewing, it's developing, and it's going to get much more critical because there's also a political clash, because the Republicans are absolutely opposed to any kind of tax increases.
How much of a risk does that pose to the American economy, to the American people?
I think it is a very serious risk, actually. I would say it's probably one of the most serious risk in the next year.
The most serious risk for the United States, or the most serious risk for the global economy?
No, this is just for the
United States.
For the United States. It has a certain parallel with the euro crisis, which is now kind of nearing a solution. And it's the same It's basically the same dynamism that's creating it in America. Namely, you have all the states. They've got single currency, but they can't print a currency.
But is the only way to resolve that to do something akin to what the EU did, form effectively a bailout fund to address Illinois or California or whatever municipalities?
You're not going to have a bailout fund because there's no way that the Republican Congress would go for that.
So maybe it won't be resolved quite the same way. Mr. Soros, a pleasure having you here. George Soros, the financier, the author, the thinker here at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland.